Come in where you see where you gonna get. Sit down. That's fine, that's fine. We are wrong. I have everything. I want rum. Drink a rum and a punch a creamer. Drink a rum. Drink a rum and a punch a creamer. Drink a rum. Drink a rum and a punch a creamer. Drink a rum. Drink a rum and a punch a creamer. Drink a rum. Muma, Muma, would you like to join your sonny? I am over here, happy in the mother country, darling, for the Christmas. Your son would be really jumping. Listen to the chorus of what we all will be singing. Drink a rum and a punch a creamer, drink a rum. It's Christmas morning. Drink a rum and a punch a creamer, drink a rum. Mama, drink it, you drink it. Drink a rum and a punch a creamer, drink a rum. Let we fed him, we fed him. Drink a rum.
Yes, indeed. A pleasant good night to all and sundry. I thought we should give some Christmassy spirit in the sea of what I consider to be disappointment, decadence, pain, ache, agony. But Trinidad and Tobago enjoys a very healthy culture surrounding Christmas, and we have, of course, some values that we must cherish, if only to make certain that we ensure the sanity and the civility and the camaraderie and the ability of our younger ones to interact decently with their peers, with their elders, and indeed make their commitment to the society, each one, of course, to his or her own quality and God-given talent. And so it is important. But of course, in spite of all of that, we have to be vigilant, and we have to be circumspect, and we have to observe those who are prepared to, on a permanent basis, but putting that system in place incrementally so that we will not enjoy that level of camaraderie and sociability that Trinidad and Tobago once had, and for which we yearn, and with all things being equal, with all of us putting our shoulders to the wheel and accepting the fact that we are conscious as to who and what has created that level of shambolic and disintegration and community. I don't want to use the word barbarism. I think that is too strong. But certainly community disintegration and family disintegration. And so we need to bring back that. But of course, it has to be done through leadership. Leadership is the issue here, people. I want to formally say, of course, a pleasant good night to all and sundry, East, West, North, South, Central, our friends in Tobago, and wherever you are, streaming on the World Wide Web. A pleasant good day to you. This is, yes, the Wednesday edition of the Corridor Transformation. Your host, Lennox Smith. Yes, indeed, I trust that the ambience, the aesthetics or the set meets your satisfaction, and that you will continue, of course, to make your contribution as we begin the Christmas series. But, of course, focusing on those issues that after Christmas, that into the new year, we can be a better society by having better people conscientious of their role and responsibilities, and therefore generate and put us back onto the road of development and nation building, which all of us, in terms of our ability to work out a quality of life and standard of living, which we all aspire to, all having, of course, working within the confines of their respective abilities and opportunities. Because as I like to always give some kind of what I consider to be synopsis, some kind of saying, some kind of quotation that will lift the spirit and give us a better consciousness. And the one that has come to mind in this case is about, of course, luck. And it is said that luck is when opportunities meet preparation. Let me repeat that. Luck is when opportunity meets preparation. So if you are prepared, so really and truly is not really what the traditional people will consider to be luck, or luck in its traditional or regular sense. Luck is the ability to, of course, utilize opportunities when they come, simply because you are prepared. You are prepared, and therefore we must prepare ourselves for the new dispensation, for the new paradigm that will out of this decadence and this bizarre situation that we have found ourselves in as a nation over the last 8 years. And in order to, of course, put it in perspective, and in order to make sense of it, and in order, of course, for us to make it indelible, and for us to rationalize, and for us, as a consequence of ideation and celebrating, thinking about it, we have to look at the leaders and the leadership that we were offered and is now experiencing over the last 8 years. Led by, of course, a prime minister who has the highest executive office in the country, but has proven to be a man very short on character, on personality, on right and wrong, and of course, ethics and morals. We have no choice but to, of course, unfortunately, have to ascribe all of those deficiencies to the personality called Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley. And tonight, there will be no exception, because it has dawned on me, and observing the man over the several years, we have seen that he suffers from an acute deficiency. And in spite of all of the accolades and in spite of all of his achievements, he suffers from a debilitating inferiority complex. Why? Because of his past. You see, a standard lesson, a standard lecture at training college has always been Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud must be on the material that would be delivered by those teacher lecturers at the various universities and training colleges in Trinidad and Tobago. And one of the questions that I always ask is, of course, or make sense of the child is the father of the man. The child is the father of the man. And it may sound complex. I myself had difficulty in rationalize it until, of course, I had to study it and look at the various literature. But in simple terms, it simply means that the individual is the sum total of his past experiences, particularly at youth. Let me repeat that. The child is the father of the man, and it simply means that the person, the human being, is the sum total of his past experiences, his or her past experiences. And I am satisfied that Dr. Rowley's past has overwhelmed him in spite of his achievements. He sees that as still looking for acceptance, still wanting somebody to see him as something else, and he himself portraying a character that is not him. And we see it, of course, bolt out of that confinement too regularly, not only not to be concerned, but to be in a state of total, what I consider to be apprehension as to whether he could last out as prime minister, having regard to his personality. And it is not just me. I am not talking because you may believe that I have a hatred for the man, and yes, I do. But as a human being, I would want to also analyze, because after all, his conduct is despicable. His conduct is unbecoming of a prime minister, and his conduct is one that does not augur well for the future, and young people seeing such a personality as exemplary and as a role model. And that is where my intense disregard, disrespect, and hatred for that man is concerned. Because so many of our population, 1.5 minus them, are depending on the values and the morals and the ethics and the sense of right and wrong from our leaders. And the ultimate leader with the executive power in this country is the office of prime minister. And who holds that office has a responsibility to, of course, maintain it with dignity, with pride, and with the ethics and morals that one can say, yes, in spite of what that person is on the straight and narrow and has proven to be a motivator, one who, of course, has demonstrated throughout his life in the office of Prime Minister to be someone we can follow, someone we can pattern from, someone who can be considered to be a role model. Unfortunately, Dr. Rowley is the exact and total opposite. Yes, indeed. And we will continue tonight to examine that. And let me shoot from the waist one time, because I want to make sure that the issue is well understood by all and sundry. And I don't think we have to go far when we look at what his former boss would have said, because that is significant, having regard to what Patrick Manning said about him, having, of course, worked close to him and had an opportunity up close to observe this creature called Rowley that clearly has disappointed in more ways than one. And we must, of course, out of duty to our country and as patriots and to our children and our children's children, to let them know that that is not what is expected of a prime minister. But of course, the antecedent and the circumstance that got him there, we must examine, because one can easily say, well, how come he is so awful in terms of his personality and in terms of his ability to generate the role model that is accepted and required at this time, and develop, of course, the policies and programs that would take Trinidad and Tobago out of the morass and the quagmire that it has found itself in terms of economics and in terms of business and in terms of our future. And we see that Dr. Rowley clearly does not fit the bill for moving us from zero to a kind of what I consider to be figurative hero. Let's look at Dr. Rowley and what has been said about him. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
I see it. Mr. Speaker, I see bitterness. Mr. Speaker, I see acrimony. Mr. Speaker, I see animosity. And Mr. Speaker, I see a man completely out of control. Completely out of control, Mr. Speaker. That is what I see. And that problem is not only about the bill, you know. I was aware of the tendency for another to vote on control. Since I decided, I'm amazed. Everybody has a chance to do it. But not like my good friend. The minute you oppose my good friend, Mr. Speaker, the minute you oppose my good friend, he gets very, very angry. And if you oppose him strong, Mr. Speaker, he becomes a raging bull. And that's what we just will not prepare for accept
Not me saying it. Those are apologists, not me.
I went to the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago in August 2003. As a Minister of Government in Trinidad and Tobago, PM Minister, and told him that there was building in Unicos. What the Commission of Inquiry is looking at is 10 times worse than what happened in the airport. And even more brazen, the PNM is on trial. Because those of us who were there and carried the overland stain, we cannot take a position that this is all talk. In 1986, when we went to campaign in my area, I was there. I don't know who else was there. I was there. And we went door to door. And Westmoreland, in Glencore, in the Bishop, and all the telling was O'Halloran. And today, every school child in this country knows that there's something called Lameduck and it smells the high heavens. Smells the high heavens. If this This country cannot call to order its Prime Minister and its cabinet and its political party to say we are not accepting that in God. Why should we sacrifice so as to allow others, wrongdoers, to prosper? That is what we've been called upon to do, colleagues. That's what we've been called upon to do. And those of you who think that I'm being obstructionist and I'm being whatever you want to think, what we are being called upon to do by a small clique of people in the country is to support wrongdoing, pretend not to know, and see if we can ride it out. We are not going to ride this out. $700 million worth of contract lands on the Princess Building ground. Not a soul in Port of Spain, in Belmont, in Cascade, in Laventille, in Diplomatic, one day's work there. 100% Chinese work. Design, construction, materials, everything. And I am supposed to support that. And if I don't support it, I get myself slandered in and out of Parliament by my own Prime Minister. $700 million worth of contract lands on the Princess Building ground. Not a soul in Port of Spain, in Belmont, in Cascade, in Laventille, in Diplomatic, one day's work there. 100% Chinese work. Design, construction, materials, everything. And I am supposed to support that. And if I don't support it, I get myself slandered in and out of Parliament by my own Prime Minister.
I want to tell you something. I'm from Mason Hall in Tobago. Mason Hall very close to Electoral. The last time I was put out of anywhere for anything, the person who put me out regretted it. Remember I was in the cabinet. I took issue over the behavior of Calderhart and Udicock. And what happened to me? I was put out of the cabinet. The person who put me out regretted it.
Mr. Abraham, my good friend, area managers, party chairman and secretaries, my chairman, my hero, ladies and gentlemen. When last we met, I relayed to you that I will be prepared to consider my position on electoral politics in the following terms. My health, that is to say that I would have had to have a successful on my health, and your support if you believe that you can support me when I have been prepared to consider it. In particular, when I had a stroke and later on 3 years, the people of San Fernandez stood by me. I am determined to stand by you. So, in closing, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to give my consent to the party vice chairman, and I will make myself available if you so need me. Thank you very much.
One of the first things we will do after the 7th of September is to have a tremendous function to honor the service of Patrick Augustus Gordon Manning.
It's important that you take note of what he said, pretending to be in sympathy now that he got what he wanted, the leadership of the PNM. He then, of course, said that that's a banquet for the man. Well, I want to show you a pattern of behavior that we must observe, because the time will come when you will have to adjudicate when you will have to go to the polls and make a decision. And I want to tell you, it's the same thing that he did to Roger. He hung up Roger. Roger dragged Mannequin. And afterwards, what? Promise him the oil refinery. But in the process, tell him, don't threaten him. Now he's prime minister. Don't threaten him. So we have that. So we have that as a track record, a modus operandi, it is called in, of course, the criminologistic world. Let me just make certain that the phone is up and running on this side of the, because I have a double system here. So I want to make certain that we let me make certain that the phone is up. Let me see. I'm not seeing it. So let me just make the appropriate adjustments. So where is it? 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 Yes, indeed. But that being as it may, we must continue, of course, to recognize that the toxicity and the inability of this man to settle down and to treat with the affairs of the country in an objective manner. If you wish, you can call now. You can call back now, and let's see if we can get it organized. 337-6940. That's the number to call. 337-6940, and I'll see if I'm able, of course, to interact with you by doing what is required on this side of the live. So once again, because it is critical that you understand that this man does nothing vai or by chance. It is his nature to be mean, to be greedy, to be envious, and to be rambunctious and brutal and rugged and plunderous. Yes, he's plunderous and will trample on anyone to get where he is. I am surprised that I am the only one that he has not yet tackled frontally. I wonder why. I'm the only one. And every night I'm calling him a rapist and a pedophile, and they're telling him. And on the last occasion when a person from the office of the Prime Minister, the Communications Division, and called on the radio station to send a copy of what I said because I was lying or was not presenting the truth about Rowley. Rowley was asked a question, and he said that he don't want anybody to fight his battle. He will handle his stories himself. You know what I say? He asked no one to handle his stories because some on the link probably couldn't take that for him because he was vicariously feeling the pain that Rowley should be feeling. Imagine every day a fella from Lameduck calling you a rapist and a pedophile every day to the international community and telling you that he will get to all those leaders that you would have visited. Don't frighten all of them, whether it be in London, whether it be in Canada, whether it be in Brussels, whether it be in Jamaica, whether it be in Barbados, whether it be in Grenada, whether it be in Guyana, whether it be in St. Vincent, whether it be in St. Lucia, whether it be in Antigua, and we can go on and on. Wherever he would have gone, a copy of his past will be there to follow him. He must not get away with that evil. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. Pleasant good night. Welcome. All right, we have to check that again. Let's see what's happening here. All right. Let's see what's happening here. Let me see if we can make any adjustments here. Trying to be as efficacious as possible so that you have a good program tonight without much interruption. Even though we know of the fragility of the system or the technology that we are depending on to get the information to you every night. But that being as it may, all right, let's try it again and see what's happening. All right, let's go. All right, good. Let's see what's happening here now. All right, a pleasant good night.
Good night.
Welcome. Good night.
Good night, Lennox.
Welcome,
and
welcome,
a season
welcome.
greetings to you
Yes,
and to
indeed.
all the
Yes, go ahead, go ahead. I'm hearing you loud and clear.
Okay, Lennox, that
Hey.
man is a mocking pretender.
If he is.
He's a liar. He suffers from selective memory syndrome. And he displays situational ethics. That man stood up in that parliament and made everybody feel that he was such a good guy. And no sooner you went to Pigot's Corner and talk about you get rid of people who put you out of cabinet. But today, I still say it good for Patrick Manning. It good for him. He got what he deserved. He warned us, yes, but he didn't do anything about it. He put him right back there to contest elections. Because I remember in 2007 when he told them to go back and get somebody the way they were getting on, right? He still went and take him. And they were getting on to for Ken Valley and they still kick out Ken Valley. Why didn't you kick out Keith Rowley? Manning have us in the situation that we are in today with that liar. That man talk about how many jobs dropped on the Princess Building grounds. How many jobs were dropped in all your lap with the 600 plus recusals? How many jobs and kickbacks were dropped in their laps from the butchering of the procurement bill? Keith Rowley is a mocking pretender. He lied his way into government, and the same lies are going to take him out. Because it was from one lie to the next. He was so holy and sanctimonious. He pretended to be holy and sanctimonious. Oh, no nepotism, no cronyism. You will get transparency and accountability. But every time they ask you a question, and the Prime Minister question time, you're cussing everybody. What kind of man is that? And as you rightly described him when you opened your program, Keith Rowley is not a good person. And the sooner people realize that will be the better for them. And we know elections are in the air. And they're going to come with lies again. When he comes back from his jaunt in London, he's going to come and lie again. We are fed up of his lies. Maybe PNM might like it, but it's not helping the rest. It's not helping us. And if people don't want to stand up and defend what is theirs, that is their business. Because come January, we who work so hard, Lennox, to build a home, made sacrifices, we have to pay property tax now. We have to rent our homes from the government now. We have to pay them a rent. That is not fair at all. And he stand up and he talk about it in Parliament at that same time. People in his constituency can't afford $100. What make him feel that we can afford it now? Lennox, I can tell you something, This December is going to be very, very hard for a lot of people. I know that. I've seen it and I have experienced it. I don't know what is going to happen to us just now. And they talk about we in riot yet. He better don't wish it. He better don't wish it. Because I don't know, Lennox, how people make it out. I don't know. It's very, very hard out here. People are really, really struggling. But you see, Lennox, elections have consequences.
That's right.
They rather not go out and vote, stay home and scratch and sniff, and then after blame Kamala. And while I'm on the subject of Kamala, I want to tell all the would-be, the wannabe surveyors and pollsters and whoever doing polls, secret polls, because we don't know where the polls came from. We don't know how many people were interviewed. But you're hearing there's a poll, a survey that a lot of people want Kamala to go. Well, I want to tell them, a lot of people wanted to go, but the majority wanted to stay. Because she did well as a prime minister. And not because she couldn't get up off a very low stool that she was sitting on when she was doing her bras and needed help. That doesn't make her feeble. Her mind is not feeble. And all you who judging her by that, all they feel all they wouldn't get old. It's a privilege to get old. But Rowley, the language I want to use, I don't want to use it tonight, but I want to use it real bad. Rowley, you messing up the country. They don't want him to go. They ain't doing no survey for him to go. But all they want to come, like who in opposition and who can't do anything for, because it's the government controlling everything. All they want her to go. But I want to ask them, where Kamala go? And only put all the favorite person there. Right? Is Rowley going to hand them the government? They wouldn't have the same pressure. But you see, there are too many mocking pretenders out there. Not only the PNM, you know. You have a lot in the UNC as well. Lennox, thanks a lot and have a good night. And for listening to my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your usual contribution. Our external, I like to call her contributor. But you are quite right. You are quite right. Because when they would have, of course, as you rightly began your presentation by talking about situational ethics, it's situational ethics. And to me, with a huge dose of opportunism. You ever say? It is situational ethics with a huge dose of opportunism. And I'm saying opportunism from the perspective that because it is easy when things are not going good to make a comment that is negative. It is easy when things are not going right, when life as a unperfect experience, it's not perfect. No one could say they got, and even if they are in their twilight and they would have done well, comparatively speaking, could say that during the course of that journey, that life's journey, that they got everything they wanted. And not having everything you wanted, it means on the other side of that coin, on the other side of that argument, is the fact that you would have been disappointed. You would have fallen short in spite of your best plans. And it would have therefore nestled in wishful thinking. I am saying so specifically because it is easy. I have had that experience when I launched the MLIO program. And we were making strides. But there were challenges that God knows we could have done without. But the very people within the organization were making all kinds of statements and, of course, giving the impression that they are authoritative, that they, because they are connected and close to Lennox Smith, and is part and parcel of that program that is producing 300 young people of the type that all of us are concerned with today. Understand that the challenge has to be tremendous. And you have people, some who would have been in academia, some who would have been past teachers, some who would have been members of the cloth, some who would have been religious fanatics, I would like to call them that. Some who would have had some experience with respect, of course, to being a technocrat or a bureaucrat or a policy creator. And they will come and tell you everything under the sun, what they would have done if they were you. Understand what I'm saying? They would tell you, and I'm sure many of you would have had that experience as well, what they would have done if they were you. You in this situation, you know. It may be a domestic problem. It may be a car problem, for example. It may be the construction of a home or the acquisition of a home or apartment, as the case may be. And they will sit on the side and tell you if they were you, what they would have done, and that you should do this and you should do that. But none of them will tell you, when I was in a similar situation, or I am in that situation, and I have, of course, emerged out of it this way, and today I am a success story. None of them will tell you that. Taking this example and superimposing it on those who are calling for Kamala Persad-Bissessar or criticizing Kamala Persad-Bissessar in terms of her leadership. Ask any one of them who they have led, what party they created, what were the challenges that they were prepared to address. What about the sleepless nights? What's about the state of perpetual anxiety because tomorrow you have to meet a deadline and there are persons who are depending on you, like in my case, when of course we were faced with 300 young people coming into the MLIO program. Fernandez haven't given us a whole warehouse, and the conditions are so awful, are so unsalubrious for learning and teaching, and therefore training. Dusty, humid, and we have, of course, to create disciplined young people at the end of the day, having, of course, imparted the training that we would have created. And you have people in lift a dime, never had the experience of those young people who were either engaged or had the potential to engage in crime and criminality, and we were taking them out of the system and putting them in a learning environment that would have jeopardized our very own lives because we had to discipline them, we had to tell them where to get off at times, we had to tell them that life is not what they think, and that there is a better future beyond what they know, and that if you would take on the nectar of education and the skills that are being imparted, you telling me, you talk about sleepless nights. You talk about terrible days. I can give you a story, and I'm going to condense that into a book. I must write a book before I depart this world. Loads of community work in places like Lameduck and so on. Simply because when I looked at my experience, when I was asked to develop a program in Grenada, in Belize, in Barbados, where it comes to poor people, and if there is a lack of leadership and broad-based, nonchalant, and hands-off, particularly by those institutions of state whose responsibility it is to make interventions, and their very existence connotate that, and they fail in their duty and responsibility. I am talking about, of course, the Ministry of Education. I'm talking about the Ministry of Sports. I'm talking about the Ministry of Youth. I'm talking about social welfare and development. I'm talking about community development. These are the institutions that are supposed to be focusing on and nurturing and developing our young people. But when, of course, too many of them have gone astray, it means that those institutions have failed. But yet still you have people there who, because of the office they hold, just as Rowley and they, becoming self-righteous indignators, and can deliver one thing as far as the state is concerned and the largest and resources that they have at their disposal. Let's go straight to the line. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. Welcome to the corridor. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. Pleasant good night. People, hold on, man. If you see me a bit tardy, hold on. I will be there. I will get to you. All right, so don't be too impatient if I didn't hang up, because I'm using two systems and the calls are coming on both, so I have to disengage one in order to get the one that is more appropriate for easy communication. So just bear with me while, of course, you may not feel that I am not responding in terms of answering. Please just hold on a little bit. And of course, the system itself is generating some delays as well. So, so that being as it may, I trust that people will understand now. And I'm trying my best to see if I can disconnect one and stay with one. But every time you call, both systems are the call is registered on both systems, and therefore I have to choose. I have to choose the best one so as to get the best quality. So bear with me until, of course, I'm able to rectify that. Maybe before right, good. See, like this now. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Hey, Lennox, what you seen, right? Going on, long time I calling the program there, right? I've been very busy over here. Yeah, I located in New York. But anyway,
yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, first of all, the ground report. You guys have put them back the Facebook on that, because I mean, like, it's been like a couple of weeks now. You guys have it off. Oh, for Monday. Okay.
For Monday, yeah. For Monday, yes.
Yeah. So I see, you guys Prime Minister over there treating you guys way bad. So what about what's going on in Guyana over there? I heard Maduro call up some shots today saying that the Guyanese had to evacuate from over there. He gave them 3 months. Where's he seen with that? They're gonna be an all-out war, or what's going on? Or is gonna spill over to Trinidad? Who it is Dr. Rowley sided with?
Well, Dr. Rowley clearly has put his eggs in the Venezuelan basket, but because of the fact, not because of what he said, but because of what he didn't say. Because Trinidad and Tobago has the most interest compared to all of the other Caribbean islands in making certain that there is stability and that Venezuela is not further sanctioned by the Americans. And yet still he remains silent on that and saying that the position of Trinidad and Tobago is that of CARICOM. And that to me seemed to be a platitudinous sort of ingratiating statement, and wanted to hide from the fact that he has to make a definite statement on Venezuela, having regard to the dependence on Trinidad and the negotiations that are taking place for the Dragon gas and possible other joint venture. And he has failed to do so at this point in time. In fact, I think he ran away to London instead, rather than having to face Trinidad and Tobago and, of course, the rest of the Caribbean as to taking a definite position as far as the interests of Trinidad and Tobago is concerned.
Well, I just hoping, between me and you, I just hoping, it does those things doesn't spill over to
Well, I
Trinidad. I mean,
too.
things done so terrible in Trinidad already. I just
Yeah.
hoping, things.
Yeah.
I guess in everybody in Trinidad, including myself, praying for things to get good.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Lennox. So you have a good night. Happy holidays.
Same to
Thank
you.
you.
Same to you. Same to you, my friends. Same to you. Same to you. Yes, of course, that's a foreign call. Yes, so it appears that he got it right. He got it right because I probably got it right in studio. So you can call, of course. Don't forget the number to call, 337-6940. Only WhatsApp, 337-6940. And don't forget, of course, no, we don't have a voice system yet. So you'll have to call. But as I said, I am not averse to any commentary that is not nestled in the standard English. So I don't care about green verb, black verb, yellow verb. Once I can understand and the rest of us can understand you, then that is the criteria, that is the standard that we are going to be using on this program to make certain that you have every opportunity to express a concern or a comment or give some kind of assistance that you may wish to, of course, disclose to us and therefore the listenership. So don't forget as well, of course, our Christmas initiative, hamper and toys to put a smile on the young ones' faces and to, of course, give a family the opportunity to, at least at this time, a good meal, preferably. 33665. Yes, indeed. Let me just get that one. 3366594. 3366594. Let's go straight to the line. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Good night, Lennox. How are you?
Welcome.
Thank you. I was listening to what you said about the Prime Minister, about being a rapist, and you really do say it every time you're on the air. And I have no problem with that. But I don't know, when it's frightening sometimes because you're thinking the leader, he's the Prime Minister, and he's been. Can you hear me, Lennox?
Yes, I'm here. I'm hearing you loud and clear.
Okay,
Yes.
all right. Okay, I hope there's no echo because I keep hearing a phone ringing. But I feel like I, even though I don't have respect for the Prime Minister, and I think he's horrible, I just like I feel I get confused sometimes because you get all these, you have a defamation lawsuit by Stuart Young, but then nobody's suing you for calling him a rapist. Do you know what I mean? It's like, what's going on in this country, this man is like, I don't know, it's like he's agreeing with what you're saying. He's saying, yeah, that happened, and now there's nothing, nobody can do, so let's just move on, big deal. He's just, so we'll just put that to rest. That was just something that bothered me because rape is a real thing, and I think at that time when the Prime Minister, from what I read in the media, from what he did with this girl, he was a teacher, right? When he had a relationship with a student,
Yes,
right?
that's so true.
And did we have statutory rape laws in those days? It was still considered rape if you're a minor because you don't
But
have
she was
the
a
age of
minor.
consent.
She was a minor,
Yeah.
and let me take this opportunity, of course, to share it with those who may not know. She made the child, Dr. Wally's first child, at age 17. She was therefore a minor in the true sense and in any sense at all. One. Two, what you should observe is that 9 years before, she could have been, or she would have been, at least 16 years. No one knows when Dr. Rowley started to interfere with this child. It could have been at the age 12, 13, 14, 15, certainly 16. Understand that? And he was a teacher at the time. So that is a
Yeah.
depraved
Was
man,
he
a
was
sick
he a
man.
teacher that was under during colonialism or after we had independence? He had
Yeah,
that. He
after,
behaved
yes,
like that.
that was specifically, he got the job in 1969.
Hmm.
So what, that you talk about 7 years after we became independent.
And then we became a republic. What in seven? What was seven? What was it? When did we become a republic? I forget. I don't even know now.
Yeah,
But I
79.
think 79. Yeah, that's right. So I feel like people need to understand that at that time when Dr. Rowley was behaving like this, a lot of men behaved like that too. In schools, a lot of children were actually abused at schools because schools were never monitored and they were considered places where you could just get away with anything. Teachers used to take kids for drives. Taxi drivers were harassing little girls when they were going to school. They were having girlfriends. And I say this because I'm a product of the 70s myself. And I say this from witnessing teachers who were behaving inappropriately with students. And that's a fact. It's still happening in some schools and it's not talked about. But, but for a person who engages in that kind of behavior and follows now in a path of leading a country, it just doesn't make sense. It's just, he's not fit to be a teacher. And I'm not condoning it that because of the time a lot of men were doing it, but he's not fit to be a leader because now he has demonstrated to us that he doesn't care, you know. But I want to put that aside, and I want to say that this thing with Venezuela and Guyana and Trinidad, you know, I read today that Venezuela just shipped like 400,000 barrels of oil or whatever, I forget how many, to India. And guess who was one of the shippers too who sent oil? Was Chevron from the United States. And guess who is at the Escovedo border by that river who is drilling for oil right now? Exxon in Guyana. So we've got two American companies, one in Guyana and one in Venezuela. And then we got Shell down here, which is the UK. So you know, I don't understand what is going on anymore because this we don't know from the prime minister. He's not telling us anything about his trip to Saudi Arabia. He was there, and look, just yesterday, I think, or yesterday, Vladimir Putin went to Saudi Arabia, and he was embraced. This man, they gave him he flew a jet. The Russians were flying the jets over the Gulf, and they had the flag of the colors of the smoke was the Russian flag, and they said they were going to work with all of their allies, which includes Venezuela. So, Prime Minister, he does a lot of these trips and he doesn't tell us anything. And, we are left now to question what we're reading. And we have, like, and the experts out there are not really telling us. All they're talking about is, like, what Kamala said. Kamala said that, we shouldn't, Venezuela shouldn't interfere with Guyana. And she's right, because we are a member of the Organization of America and we are a member of CARICOM. And Venezuela is not a member of the OAS, which is the Organization of America. They're not a member of CARICOM, and we are a member. And the OAS says that when one member country is in trouble or gets into military problem, then all of us are involved. All OAS members are involved, and we have to stand as one. And so she was right to say that comment about not interfering with Guyana. And people were saying, "What's wrong with her? She should be supporting the prime minister. This is not patriotic." She's being diplomatic. And so I feel like a lot of the information you're hearing on the radio, people don't really understand what's going on with OAS, and what that important role we play. Because CARICOM gets one vote in the OAS to be part of that membership. And I think what happened, and I'm going to say this, you know this, Lennox, when Argentina when Argentina invaded the Falkland Islands, and the Falkland Islands is a colony or whatever, they are owned by England. The United States did nothing, and Argentina is a member of the OAS. So when one country was in a war, none of us got involved. We just stood by and watched. None of us said, "Let's jump in and help Argentina," because all for one and one for all. And the United States said, no, we're not getting involved. Let them, we want to support England. And they were supporting England throughout the whole thing. And they were silent with us. And so I'm confused because down here you get mixed reports. But if you were in the United States, it would definitely be anti-Venice. That's my comment. I just hope, I wanted you to give some insight because it's like these are scare tactics and distraction, but if you look at the war in Ukraine and Russia, that's a real war going on. And so I don't know, man. It's like I'm confused. All right, Lennox, maybe you can bring some light and shed some light, but anyway, that's my comment.
Yeah, no problem. I understand your dilemma. I know that it is extremely complex. It's a matrix. But where I stand, I mean, I have a duty and responsibility to probably extrapolate and to bring some clarity as best as I can. The fact of the matter is that in the case of Argentina, Argentina was the aggressor. It's they who invaded the Falklands. They did not engage and didn't want to engage in negotiations. Let's face that. And therefore, in those circumstances, what do? Assuming that, for example, Venezuela was part of CARICOM, and they started to aggressively treat with the appropriate bellicose and the language of war, beat the drums of war. What does the rest of the nations will do? Well, of course, in such circumstance, if Venezuela was the aggressor, they will look at, of course, the expulsion of and disassociation with Venezuela. I am being hypothetical here, but let us be real. Now, in the case of the OAS, the Organization of American States, of which the United States is part of, and of course it is a grouping of the Western world in this hemisphere, Western Hemisphere. Trinidad and Tobago abstained from voting, even though the majority said that Venezuela should be sanctioned because it's 4 million people left in that place of the 27 million. That means that the rest of the neighboring countries on South America, and because of our proximity to Venezuela, only 7 miles shorter than if you're going to Tobago, people migrated here. And therefore, we have a fair share of that number. But if we would part and parcel of a region, a regional grouping, that recognizes that the Venezuelan Authority is the cause of those people migrating and causing the instability of the region, then we have to follow suit, particularly when the majority of the major players in the world are talking about the G7 and the G20 is concerned about what is happening in Venezuela and therefore the repercussions for us. One would have expected that out of the box, Trinidad and Tobago would have been in line diplomatically and for historical reasons to be on the right side. But instead, Dr. Rowley goes up to the United Nations and then says that non-interference in the affairs of other countries is a fundamental principle, and non-support for bellicose or for aggression. I accept that. But here is where the problem is with Trinidad and Tobago and Rowley. Maduro sent a plane, and on it, here to Trinidad, a military plane, and on it, Trinidad and Tobago summarily expelled 82 Venezuelans seeking asylum here, some of whom went to the United Nations office here for refugee, and they were in the process, and they still send them back. But more than that, Rowley had military exercises between our army here and the Guardia Costa in Venezuela. Then a joint exercise in the face of what clearly was a tremendous human rights problem issue because of the poor governance in that country and people groveling and so on. And before, of course, we seek to be on the right side of history, we are talking from both sides of our mouth. Both sides. So at the Lima conference, again, Trinidad and Tobago abstained. And more than that, as if Dr. Rowley eat parrot bottom or duck bottom, his loquaciousness and his garrulousness in that period there, jeopardizing Trinidad and Tobago's interests and our friends like the United States and Canada, with whom, of course, we have the greatest amount of trade. He came back from Chile and at the airport say that the Secretary General of the OS was damn fast. In other words, those are my words, to call for the expulsion of Venezuela. Rowley said that. So it is clear the Americans and their 50 Western countries, the richest in the world among them, say that there is an element in Venezuela with whom they could deal because they don't want to impose sanction and hurt the people. So the fellow called Guaido, they are prepared, of course, to provide some assistance if he is at the helm of those activities. And when the time comes, of course, Vice Maduro prevented it from happening and put army personnel to guard the frontier between Colombia and Venezuela to prevent those humanitarian items, a humanitarian corridor to serve the people and to provide them with basic amenities. Maduro prevented that from happening because he felt it was a stepping stone for the Americans to come in. All right. But I am concerned with Trinidad and Tobago. And Dr. Rowley had no right to, of course, talk about the expulsion of the Secretary General of the OAS because he said that Venezuela ought to be expelled. And not utter one word about the human rights violation of which all of us must be concerned and the consequence of which at over 100,000 Venezuelans are now in Trinidad and, of course, engaging and bringing their culture and including, of course, all manner of individuals, including the criminal elements that is contributing, of course, to the, no doubt, the crime and criminality that Trinidad and Tobago is suffering from, quite apart from the economic challenges that we have. Let's go straight, of course, to the line. Yes, just take your time. We will get there. A pleasant good night. Welcome.
Good night, Lennox. You hear
Good night
me?
to you. Yes, loud and clear, my friend.
Right. But it's not the first time he put his foot in his mouth or say dotishness. You can when the whole situation of Venezuela arise with the elections and thing, with Guaido and thing, he went somewhere, some podium and said how he had a meeting with America and what America was asking them to help them invade Venezuela. I don't know how he get sanctioned for that, you know. It's not the first time he put him out in choppiness. And like everybody in the world now accustomed with he talking dotishness, so like nobody don't study here again.
Well, we have to as a people because his dotishness is costing us.
Yeah.
That's right.
Everything them do so far, it hurt we. They talk about Kamala and them was corrupt and this and that. When they had Rishmi who did the appoint and then the quarrel, Rishmi ever hurt anybody pocket? Never hurt nobody pocket? Constant dotishness, right true. And you know it has some people born in the world and we was better off without them. Like 4 people could be like Hitler, Putin,
Sure, right.
Impotent, this one, this big jackass who go in England now.
I concur. I share with you. I'm in total agreement.
It ain't nothing them fellas could tell people here in Trinidad again about they want to get back in election. He know he days done, you know. And the training he getting from Maduro, I don't surprised if next election he want to bring computer. So when you if you to rig the elections. Because he don't want to step. Anytime he step out, he no come and them go swing hard on he Ram Logan, Gerald, all of them go end up on the throat.
He knows that, yes, you're quite right. But he has no choice. Just as how we thought he had a choice in Tobago. And the people dealt him a blow that he still can't recover from.
Because right now he don't know how to swing with that bacchanal brewing in Venezuela. Because Maduro talking madness, you know.
Yes. I just heard one of the callers talked about the assembling or the gravitation of military and, of course, issuing dictum for people to leave the Essequibo region if you believe that you belong to, to Guyana. I mean, that is madness in 21st century Trinidad. I mean, in 21st century world politics today.
Lennox, he going mad, you know, Maduro going, and this might be history making because if he start anything, because Brazil done went, I just watch the news, Brazil done went and blocked the border, so they say in Venezuela, car use there to try to go through Brazil to come, because for them to go through the Esquivo, the forest so dense, it could be hard for them. So they had to look for an alternative thing.
Yeah.
That's why there was claims certain lands and building landing zones and things.
Yeah, so they could only enter by air, not by foot or vehicle.
Yeah, but them people in Esquivo, them know the bush better than them soldiers and them. You understand?
That's right.
And let me tell you something, if something break out, if something do break out, we have carnival coming up next year, you know. And if something break out there, that could affect we flights to come people leaving the states to come here to fet and think, because America goes send out advisory and other places go send don't come here because something brewing. And
yeah,
here we go again.
You have our own companies here who have an interest in Guyana already making preparations for their staff and so on, contingency plans, so to speak, just in case. So far, it has not intensified as the way to give them the impression that there is something definitive coming. But as soon as that stage reaches, if it does, yeah, people are making plans to get out.
Because I come across plenty migrants when I work, you know, wherever and thing. And I met a Venezuelan girl who is a teacher who work in here. And she tell me in the schools in Venezuela, them just tell them to teach each other that Trinidad was part of Venezuela and Guyana and thing, you know, them teaching each other that, you know.
Yeah.
She tell me at time, she said she grew up under Chavez, and Chavez used to come on TV and say if he want to take over Trinidad, he could do it and all kind of thing, you know. There's nobody never take him on, but this mad one we have here, you hear his name start with mad and all, this mad one named Maduro. You gotta watch, you know. He tripping, you know.
Yes, my friend. Yes, I like that. I like that connection. With madness.
All right.
Yes, my friend. Yes, my friend. Okay,
right.
Yes, well done, my friend. Yeah. So I was making the point as to the overtures, as to the conduct, as to the actions of Dr. Rowley and his administration with relation to, of course, Venezuela. So he goes up to the United Nations, say that the United Nations recognize the Maduro administration, and he wants to have nothing to do with the other side of the coin, make no statement about human rights violation, send back for Maduro. We don't know what happened to these people, if they were killed, if they were if they are still persecuted, what have you, because of military plane, and if they fled from there, it means therefore they fled from there for a reason, and it could be as well because of their political activism, and so they had to leave.
Good night, Uncle Lennox.
Good night. Welcome. Good night.
This
welcome.
is your good friend from Valsin South. I always call you.
Yes. How are you?
I am good. I'm good. And I want to compliment you and the season and Mikey and all of them on the studio. You know what I'm a little upset about?
Go ahead.
Every day this man come on the radio station is about numbers. We count on his numbers. Do he have a solution? Do he have a solution? All this man is concerned with promoting himself on the station when 9 o'clock in the morning come. Because Kamala answer him, Kamala replied to his text, he vexed for that. I hope in 2025, he say he go sit down on the chair and see the UN and the PNM go back for 7 years again. He better migrate and go somewhere, in Mecca. He nonsense, he brain sick. He is brain sick. Instead I say something good about the UNC, right? You always come in the morning and I go see and this and that. Because Kamala, I replied to him, and Vasan Barat, Fuad Khan, and all of them join with him. You think Kamala should join with him? Them ain't have a chance, Mr. Lennox. Because you know why she give all of them a chance? She give them position, and what they do, they kick she, and she behind. They kick she. Don't talk about this one, Devat Maharaj, this ungrateful coolie from the lagoon. You hear? So let that one sit down 9 o'clock in the station and talk about numbers count and numbers check, and you go see this. He have a serious tabanka. He need to drink some marijuana weed and calm himself.
I hear you.
He need to drink some marijuana weed. Because everything, I never hear talk nothing bad about the PNM. Oh, Kamala win an election, and Kamala this, and numbers the count. He run his tail with a cup. You hear?
Yeah.
And what the covenant when they kick him out. He only looking for name and fame. My Santa good season greetings, darling. I hope you're good and I hope you're doing well. Okay? But you realize every morning he come is something but the UNC. Because Kamala answer him. And Kamala have no authority to answer him and to take his call. Who the hell he is? He only promoted himself an AMA program. And he don't care and he don't business and not this and that. He's only got a dog like Rowley and he just get on so. And if he look at himself in a mirror and he listen to himself in a speaker, he's just like Rowley. And I want him to reply to me tomorrow morning.
I hear you.
Oh God,
and don't be surprised if you get a response, because you see,
I will reply to him.
Good.
I will reply to him. You understand? They say Stuart Young is what Rowley think. Well, he look like he's Rowley's second wife. See how he getting on. I mean, come on. Let me give the woman a chance. Yes, we give you 5 years. Yes, and I will tell you something again. He could listen now, he could listen tonight, he could listen tomorrow morning. The TV election in 2015 and it TV in 2020. You understand? But because he replied to because Kamala, I replied to him, he is so great. Get reality, boy. Get reality.
All right.
Face reality.
Yes. Thank you very much.
I want to ask you something. What for Vasan Barat do for this country? What Fuad Khan and them do? Should give all of them a chance. I want to do the betray the woman. I will go to Kamala down to the bone to dogs.
Yes.
So let me sit down and I'm out shady. I'm about 2025 and numbers count. I want when Kamala win, if she win, get the hell out of the country, go Mecca and live in the desert.
I hear you. All right, thank
Good
you very
night.
much. Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much. What I'm going to do when there is another call on the line, because we don't have a call waiting system, I'm going to ask the person who is engaged, or in fact, I'm not going to ask, but I'm going to inform them that someone else is on the line, and if they could make their contribution short so as to accommodate that other call. So in that way, we run a system where everybody gets a chance. So if there is a procession of calls, it means it's automatic that people will have less time to speak. And I will inform you. So where that does not exist, well, of course, I will allow you to express fully what you have to say. I think that's a fair approach to the should I say, the whims and fancy, or the drop and rise in the number of calls on the nightly basis. All right, so I will at least do that so that those who are calling simultaneously while someone is on the line, I will inform the person who is on the line that there's another call, and that will be your cue to, of course, wind up or to make a point succinctly, and so that everybody could feel comforted. I don't want somebody to say that it's too difficult to get in, it's too difficult because somebody is talking too long, etc., etc. Experience is the best teacher, and of course, I am bringing that from my experience on the ground report. So I have to be a fool to know something is ugly and say that it is beautiful. Pleasant, good night, welcome.
Lennox, good night again to you and to everybody out there.
Yes.
Lennox, what manner of person would come on your chat and said it is good what Rowley doing us and great is the PNM? That Rowley have we skated and it good. What manner of person? When you're sick mind, you know, Lennox?
Yeah, I just said you there's
when
another
you're
call.
sick.
There's another caller, so go ahead. So finish
Yeah,
what you're saying. Yes.
yeah. Oh, a sick, only a sick mind will come up with something like that. To say that what Rowley doing us is good. Lennox, our next thing, try and see if you get the interview with Kevin Ramnarine that he did on CNC3 tonight concerning the signing of the deal. He really put Rowley and Stuart Young in the place.
All right.
He make them look dotish. And before I leave, I want to ask, I'm hearing that Fitzgerald Hines want to give people merits based on their working ability and whatever. What merit should we give him for sleeping on the job?
A demerit.
What should we give him?
A demerit.
Yeah, he should get zero. Zero for sleeping on the job and for not doing what he's supposed to be doing. Lennox, thanks again and have a good night.
Yes, indeed. And it's not he alone, people, of course, that are sleeping on the job. What they have is no limit to talk. Extremely garrulous, talkative. They are very loquacious, also meaning talkative. But that's the extent to which they are productive. If talking was solving the problems of the country, man, all the problems solved. But of course, we know that is not a reality. That is not a viable position. And I want to say of the caller before, and to that caller, let me say this. And I love to quote these sayings. I think they are so poignant and so relevant and so full, saturated with moral, the moral of the story, the sense of the story, that moral I'm talking about. And that is, there is none as blind as he or she who refuses to see. There is none as blind as he or she who refuses to see. Let me see if I get this call. All right. Yes. Let me see. Get it. Yes. Okay. Let's go. Yeah. There is none as blind as he or she who refuses to see. So that is how I will describe those people. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Lennox, it's me again. Can I ask one more question? I'm not going to go on too long. But
All right.
this dragon deal, right? This dragon
Yes.
deal is not going to start until 2027 after an election. And from
Thereabout.
what I
Yes.
read, yeah, with Shell, right? But what the Prime Minister had said was that this deal now, this new restructuring of Atlantic LNG, he said it'll give the country more money because before the United States used to set the price for LNG and it used to be like pennies on the dollar, on the US dollar. But with this new pricing, they're going with the European pricing, which is a higher rate. Now, my question is this. You've got you're going to get the Dragon deal, which you're going to get LNG now sent to Atlantic. I know you're going to get all the 4 trains running, but everything now is reliant on an election, first of all, in Trinidad, and who will be the next administration, and also that deal with Shell. Now, if the PNM comes into power, they will probably continue with Shell and they will do their procurement contracts and they'll get a lot of money and nothing will hit the villages or the community because we've seen that for decades during oil booms. And then if the UNC were to win the election, now, does Kamala and does the UNC have privy to all of these contracts that are being signed, all of these agreements? Do they know all the details of it? Is this shared with the opposition so that they could review it? Or when the opposition comes in, they will just say, okay, well, we're going to continue with what the PNM started with LNG, and we're going to do some minor tweaks. But or are they going to say, well, forget it, we're going to change the course of direction on this now? I mean, how does that work? I mean, down here, and that's my question. How does that work? Because the money won't come until 8 years, 7 years from now. Okay, thanks.
Yes, indeed. And it's a relevant question, and it is a concerning one, and ought to be concerning to every citizen. But we are creatures of history as well, quite apart from being creatures of experiences and creatures of association, gregarious animals. So what is the experience? Both sides, both parties in government, if you want to take it from what I consider to be historical perspective, would have stopped one or projects that the other one would have started. And of course, in the case of the UNC, I want to talk about the Barnara Stadium. In the case of the PNM, I mean, nearly 100 schools. And of course, the Beach High School as well comes into the fray. So what must you now examine to determine whether or not it is political grandstanding and therefore profligacy, waste, and opportunism to gain as much political currency as possible? That is what you are left with. Let us look, therefore, at the Barnara Stadium. Trinidad and Tobago has an ample supply of stadia all over the country produced by a previous UNC administration, but they are there. And therefore, such a stadium like Barnara could not be a priority. And let me tell you this, because the present government will say that, look, you had CPL in that particular stadium, and therefore that might justify it. What they are not saying is at what price, what was the cost of the pockets of Trinidad and Tobago, because every time they hold a major tournament there, away from the traditional place of holding cricket tournaments, the Queen's Park Oval, the government pays handsomely to get that, I would like to put it, contract, They pay to get that, to go there. And it is typical of Dr. Rowley and his administration, who, of course, will utilize our money to put a square peg in a round hole. And they then, of course, justify as best they can as to why they had to put that square peg in the wrong hole, even though it is asymmetrical, even though it is incongruent, even though it can't fit, in other words. And we have seen too much of that not to be concerned. And I want to say, on the other hand, I have not seen the UNC engage in such profligacy and such vindictiveness and vendetta. What I've seen of the UNC, whether Pandey, Kamla, is that they get to the task of taking up the gauntlet from where the previous administration would have left off and moving forward. That is what I see. So therefore, experience, the best teacher, and because both parties in government have ignored projects that each other would have started as a priority, when one looks at the rationalization and when one extrapolates and critically examine what is the reason for the abandonment or the delay. Because the UNC, for example, never said that they will totally abandon the Bandara. That was not a priority for them. And I want to tell you that this imagination of the PNM and then utilizing our resources to manifest it and to generate and perpetuate that illusion is extremely dangerous and unsustainable. Because remember, they keep saying that the UNC is corrupt and that they will engage in all kinds of kickbacks, etc. And the most recent kickback scenario, after 8 years, they can't produce one corrupt. Imagine 106 schools, and Rowley and them cannot identify one school as being corrupt under Kamala and them. Not one. You had several mega projects. The cycling velodrome, the Couva Children's Hospital, I still call it that. And you cannot hold anybody in the area of corruption and nepotism and cronyism. However, we have seen under the PNM a situation where it looks as though crime, criminality, misbehavior in public office, corruption, gone out of style. And don't tell me what I'm saying, you sycophants and you apologists. Don't tell me that you are not in this country and you just landed from the sun. Because you just have to watch at Balize House first and foremost. That symbol of evil, profligacy, waste, corruption, and nepotism. And as I said this morning on the ground report, when I made the pellucid and bold statement with a high degree of assurance that I could prove or say, while Dr. Rowley was up and down, including, of course, at the final rally at Constantine Park of the PNM for the local government election, 14th of August this year, he was claiming that none of the companies that were employed, I talk about contract companies employed by the government, worked on Balize House, and that it was for 11 years or 10 years or thereabout, they were accumulating money. Totally forgetting that he told us that he met a broken PNM. He met a bankrupt PNM. It was owing $4 million, not 4,000, you know. Not even 400, not even 400,000, you know. He said $4 million. And now you find money within 8 years and before 8 years to construct what I consider to be a monstrosity of steel, brick, mortar, and all the other ingredients that go into a high-rise edifice of close to, if not about or over $100 million. Where you get the money from? But more than that, as I said this morning, and don't get me vexed, you. In fact, I will bring the information tomorrow. Jusamco, the company that got the contract by this government, from this government, the Rowley administration, to construct that leg of the highway that crumbled and fell into the swamp below. And we don't know yet who has to pay for that, if it's the contractor or some combination between the contractor and the government. That is shrouded in secret. But that company is concrete truck, it's concrete unit, with the road in front of Balize House blocked off, was pouring concrete on Balize House, on that monstrosity that is rising for over $100 million. And Rowley told us recently, once again, that not a contractor, and worse yet, a contractor that got a contract where the entire roadway fell into the swamp below, was pouring concrete on that particular monstrosity. And mind you, it was not at the 3rd floor or 4th floor level, because I think it has about 5 floors. But it was on the basement itself. So from the beginning, one has to conclude that these contractors were involved in the construction of that monstrosity that is Balize House, contrary to what Dr. Rowley would have told us and want us to believe. And let me tell you this. These fellows are so evil. They are so wicked. They are so diabolical. They are so evasive and so reckless and brutal, macabre and barbaric. A bunch of Neanderthals, cavemen, in order to manifest a similar trend. They do it even in an attempt to fool the population, to have them at least in doubt that the UNC is corrupt, based on their reframe. They beat it like a road march, saying that the UNC is corrupt. They then use the same resources, the treasury, rape the treasury, pillage the treasury, recklessly and brutally thief from the treasury, saying that without fear of contradiction. Because it's theft when you encourage a man and pay him to become a false witness against 2 members of the UNC, who you believe is a soft target, but a high prize in terms of keeping those sycophants and those apologists and those persons who want to believe a dribble. Once, of course, it is the PNM. And let me tell you this. Put Rowley to form his own party, he don't move from here to there. Put Rowley, Hines, Stuart Young, Imsbert, and let them move out to the PNM and form their own party and see what will happen to them. They will become immediately political vagrants. So what is the uniting force? What is the nexus? What is the centripetal force? Something called the PNM, that over the years people gravitated to and has become culturally attached because it is an emotional thing. And then, of course, the leadership of the party, particularly after 1986, was able to most devastatingly and evilly, and of course self-serving, and politically greedy, and only for that reason they will formulate narratives such as the UNC thief and this and that, so that you, the gullible, you who thinking nostalgically, you still in a state of what I consider to be thinking in the past, and thinking the past equal the present, whilst these criminals and these vipers continue, of course, to exploit you and to make your historical attachment and loyalty to something called the PNM, and they will work it like salts and work you like salts, and they will direct you and by their policies and programs to gravitate to a point of poverty, and that they will take and dispossess you, and they hope that you will be none the wiser as they go away with ham, lamb, jam, the sink, the tub, the water, and every damn thing. Understand your stupidity. And I'm saying stupid from a very specific perspective, but I will explain that tomorrow. When I say you are stupid, I don't mean that you are lacking intelligence, but there is something psychologically wrong with that disposition that you can today, anybody, watch Rowley and that PNM and say that somehow they are credible, that they are viable, and that Trinidad and Tobago, you have to be myopic, you have to be visually impaired, you have to be exposed to blinders, because even Ray Charles could see that Trinidad and Tobago is heading rapidly to total and absolute disaster, in spite of the foray, in spite of the excursions, and in spite of the public relations gimmickry that the propaganda machinery of the PNM would engage in order, of course, to keep you at bay. And you sycophants I'm talking about, not the converted or those who already understand. In other words, not the esoteric, not those who are aware. It's you pretending that you're not living here and you just come from the sun. From the sun, yes. You're stupid. You have to be. Because here it is, the most recent incursion, the most recent episode of that approach of manifesting illusions, usually concocted in an environment and for a purpose that is nefarious, evil, wicked, and diabolical, and totally dangerous. When they paid Vincent Nelson $10 million to lie so that Logan and Ramdeen could be found guilty. You know what that meant for Rowley and them? You know, if their plans was manifested, came to fruition, you know what it meant for PNM and Rowley and them? You know what it is? Yes, you're right. I know that you have a conscience. It will mean that they would stay there for another 5 years, first and foremost. That is what that meant, and that was the objective. 2, it will have solidified, and in one fell sweep, reverse all of the negativity that they would have had, that the UNC, as they were saying, was corrupt, and they can't prove a thing. It will reverse that position because they catch a big fish. That is what that is, people. It is elaborate. It is beyond your capacity to contemplate or comprehend, but that is the plan. and they have a proclivity to engage and complex and total absolute misbehavior in public office and therefore criminal acts. And don't tell me you don't know about Pandey. Don't tell me you don't know that. Don't tell me you don't know that the sitting magistrate, Sherman McNichols, who threw the book at Pandey, jail him as well as fine him. And afterwards, it was discovered that John Jeremy, the under the PNM, under Manning, was meeting with the same magistrate, and the magistrate, Sherman McNichols, had a land issue, and he wanted it to be solved. So it was a case of quick pro. I scratch your back, you scratch mine. Understand what is happening and the kind of vipers that we are dealing with, who would concoct major and complex schemes that is unbelievable to the ordinary people. But you have to be able to be logical and to, of course, do it chronologically, and to, of course, have your argument solidly cogent in order to get and decipher that complex maze of evil that is the PNM. And Rowley is an expert in terms of manufacturing these shenanigans. So Pandey got off because it was discovered that John Jeremy, the then Attorney General under Manning, met with Sherman McNichols, the man who had to decide the fate of Pandey. Yeah, because Sherman McNichols had a land problem that he wanted resolved because he didn't want it again, or he didn't want to, or he could not have paid for it. And the information is that John Jeremy, and he has never denied it, so we have to go with it, and that is John Jeremy told McNichols, listen, finish with the Pandey case first, and then we go deal with that. Well, that is obvious. He could say that he didn't tell him to make a decision one way or another. He left room for that. But our common sense and the application thereof is that find Pandey guilty, and then we're going to deal with your matter in terms of addressing that, because you scratch our back and we scratch yours. Well, Rowley is engaged in that same pattern of behavior. It is called modus operandi with the Anand Ramlogan and Ramdeen matter. And as if to reinforce, and as if they have a devilish agenda and a proclivity to do harm. The Germans have a cultural expression called Schadenfreude. You know what I say? The Germans have a term they call Schadenfreude. It doesn't end, it ends with D, yes, D and an E. But of course, that's how they pronounce it, Schadenfreude. And it means people who have a propensity, a predilection to revel and to enjoy once it's not them. People getting hurt and they enjoying hurting other people. That is what the PNM has boiled down into. That is what it has gravitated to. That is what it has evolved into. That is what it has mutated to. And therefore, our consciousness must not be so simple. It must not be so disabused. It must not be so not taking adequate action and or cognizant of. Understand that. And that was Pandey, a former prime minister. We saw what Rowley did in the parliament with those fake pieces of paper he called emails. We see today that this sitting attorney general utilizing our money, raid barbarically, and of course, plundering. They are prepared to engage in political assassination. They are prepared to engage in political genocide. They are prepared to utilize all criminal means to stay in government because they know the consequence. They know that they are criminals. They know that they had to have a defense. They know that once they are out of office, there is certainty that they will be. I am not talking about guests, you know. I'm not talking about ambiguity, you know. I'm not talking about equivocality, you know. I am not talking about equivocality, you know. I am not talking about yes. I am not talking about suspicion. I am not talking about happenstance, you know. I'm not talking about serendipity, you know. I am talking about it is certain that Rowley and they will make a jail, and this government will go to any length to stay in government. And while we understand the challenges, all that has to happen is what Tobago did. Everybody has to come out and jeopardize Diego Martin West, jeopardize Diego Martin Central, jeopardize Diego Martin East, jeopardize Port of Spain South, jeopardize Hines constituency, jeopardize Stuart Young constituency, jeopardize the Minister Dolly constituency, and right up the corridor in that small part of the country that over the years the PNM has been able to gerrymander in order to keep them in office. And this group of criminals, this mafia syndicate, clearly is the worst of them all. We have heard about Jean Miles. We have heard about the Tesoro and the lock joint conspiracy and corruption. But this man has so much corruption under his belt. It is unfathomable. I mean, where in this world, in a cabinet, ministers of government will recuse themselves for potential conflict of interest over 100, not 100, 500 times? Where? And they are so believing in their nefarious and undermining of the system and manipulation of the system that Hines would tell you that no matter what, we will still be successful at the polls. Well, I'm sure they said the same thing in Tobago. And I'm sure they said the same thing in 1986. And I'm sure they said the same thing in 1995. And I'm sure they said the same thing in 2000. And I'm sure they said the same thing in 2010. And I'm sure they're saying the same thing all now until 2025 reaches, when they will have to face reality. Why you think they have to close down the parliament? Because they have only 22 seats. So if Young out, that is 21. Rowley out, that is 20. Understand what is happening. That is why the parliament is closed down, because they convene parliament and somebody reaches late for a decision or falls sick. Rowley taking that chance, he will be defeated in the parliament because the opposition, powerful, have 19 seats. Understand that. One less again, and it's 1919. Of course, the speaker has a casting vote, so the PNM will be successful. Not that it is tradition that the speaker will go the way of the government, No, because if it boils down to conscience, if it boils down, like in the case of the procurement legislation, what excuse can you make for supporting that awful, barbaric, and giving government ministers the opportunity to recuse themselves over 500 times? And those senators know that, and those people who are part and parcel of the government and in the cabinet don't know that. And while, of course, we could talk about partisan and therefore gravitation to your team, so to speak, or to your party position on the matter, the independent senators were the ones to make the difference, and they failed. They failed. And we had, of course, a senator before 2015, Helen Drayton, calling on Kamala Persad-Bissessar, an independent senator, to call elections because she felt comforted now because of the belief that the PNM were. That's why people like Dr. Rowley's bagman at HGC, yes, came back to the country, even though the Las Alturas inquiry was taking place and his name was calling for abuse and for not exhibiting due diligence in the interests of the public and taxpayers. He come back when he know that Rowley and they will defend him, and we are seeing it on a daily basis. How come you can't understand that? There is none as blind as he or she who refuses to see. There is none as blind as he or she who refuses to see. And because you're blind, all of Trinidad and Tobago will end up in disaster if you do not take off those blinders and see the reality that is Trinidad and Tobago today, and the poor government and governance and the inability to manage and the crookedness, a bunch of crooks, kleptocrats that has populated the government of Trinidad and Tobago today, and empty the treasury of the country in their favor and their families' favor, and who they prefer, and rather, and of course, persons who are close to the party. Your common sense will tell you. If you come from the sun, I can understand why you don't know. Let's go and finish off what is 19 minutes past 10 people already. All right, let's finish off what Manning said about Rowley.
We just were not prepared to accept that. And Mr. Speaker, you don't know the trouble I see. You don't know the trouble I see. I've had to live with that for 12 years. When you can't have your way, and when you cannot have his way, Mr. Speaker, his method is to bully. That's what it is. That is what it was. We just were not prepared to accept that. And Mr. Speaker, you don't know the trouble I see. You don't know the trouble I see. I have had to live with that for 12 years. When you can't have your way, and when you cannot have his way, Mr. Speaker, his method is to bully. That's what it is. His method is to bully you. That is what I fought against. That is why his employment was terminated. Mr. Speaker, we do not tolerate bullying in the secondary school system. We're not tolerating bullying in the cabinet. We're not tolerating it. And if the member for Diego Martin West wishes a cabinet in which bullying is the order of the day, he's going to have to form the cabinet himself. It ain't going to happen in this one. It's not going to happen. He was allowed to behave. I don't know if the member realizes it. I don't think the member realizes it. That when you carry on the hate that you have, it impairs your judgment. It impairs your judgment. That is what it does. And therefore your prescriptions are not straight.
I want to tell you something. I'm from Mason Hall in Tobago. Mason Hall very close to Electoral. The last time I was put out of anywhere for anything, the person who put me out regretted it. Remember I was in the cabinet? I took issue over the behavior of Colorado and Utica. And what happened to me? I was put out of the cabinet. The person who put me out regretted it.
I see hate. Mr. Speaker, I see bitterness. Mr. Speaker, I see acrimony. Mr. Speaker, I see animosity. And Mr. Speaker, I see a man completely out of control. Completely out of control, Mr. Speaker. That is what I see.
So people, those are profound words. What more you want from the dead, the living, and you cannot make a decision? I want to see my compatriots, because I intend to be around in 2025, maximum. I intend to be around, and I want to see, one, the frivolous excuse that the PNM will come up with. Maduro, in order to stay in government, is prepared to cause a war between his government, unfounded, no legitimacy, no logic, only because it is an opportunity to stay in government, between himself, his people, riling up his people to go against a very peaceful and small and a very poor at one time neighbor, but because the potential is great. And it's not that, because if sanctions are deepened against Venezuela, the status quo in Venezuela will remain the same. So he has no way to, of course, improve the circumstance as far as the economy is concerned, but it has good traction for politics. Just as how Rowley found and fooled the Africans in this country by talking about, in a very innocuous basket of a variety of items, demonstrating that the UNC is much more altruistic, is much more philanthropic. And Rowley take out, identify a hand of bananas, and then say forcefully and pretensively, emotionally, they say that he ain't no monkey, and this monkey is give bananas and fool you people down in South. 60,000 of you were displaced and were let off and are facing poverty. We heard recently a former petrochem worker had to resort to stealing and end up making a jail. And we have had instances of suicide. People can't take it. And Rowley and them caused that. And because he said that he ain't no monkey and that is bananas that just be fed to monkeys, and you take that and make that man win a whole election to come back to do you more and deepen evil. And people like those, the more you condescend, the more you become subservient, the more you become complacent, is the more power they feel they have to, of course, deprive you and to, of course, make you hungry and to, of course, endanger the entire country. We have seen the country bathing with blood and tears and, of course, murders and disappearance. And you don't know it's them? He could say what he wants. They could say what they want. You must be steadfast. You must be belligerent just as them. You must be firm. You must have a tunnel vision, and you must have an intellect that says, no way, indelibly, Rowley and them could fool me again. That is what you must say. But of course, we have come to the end. I'm sorry I wasn't able to give you, of course, a piece of Miss Bernie. I promised to do that today. But of course, so many calls and so many pertinent issues that were raised that we had, of course, to engage. But let me see if I can get
you come in a forum to talk, or you open your political campaign down in the teapot. and you still have UNC name in your mouth. Like everywhere you go, you have to say something about UNC.
Yeah, Miss Bernie, that's Tobago. Tobago is steadfast. They're not whimsical.
Come and be do you then but after you come you was that is what's in a tabanka. You can't get over that tabanka there at all from the UNC. Every time you come to go on a political platform, you have to mention the UNC. You have to mention that. Why you have to mention that? Something is wrong. Look at that. Queen of the pack, Tracy Davis, Celestine. Come out and tell all if you vote PNM. How many THA jobs will be lost? Listen, people. We are accustomed to them nonsense stuff because everything that these people tell you is the opposite. It's not who is going to take it. It's if they go back, what they're going to do. They're telling all you what they're going to do if they get back in the office. So we now in Tobago have to make sure that they don't go back there. They don't go back there to disrupt the lives of the people, citizens of our island Tobago, and to suffer with family to get something to eat and drink. We have to make sure that they don't go back there. It's the same thing the cult leader in Trinidad stand up and say. The government of Trinidad and Tobago is not closing down Petrotrin. When it done, he closed down Petrotrin. Send home so much workers. I seen on the papers that they were manual working Petrotrin. Can't get food to feed the family. I know why you do if he end up in jail. This is the kind of living that these people want us to live in because you see where they allocate money for jail cells and police station. We see what these people are doing to us in Tobago and Trinidad. You say you're not closing down Petrotrin, you close it down. And now you're selling Petrotrin assets as scrap iron. That is all you're doing. Selling it as scrap iron now in the country. All these wicked people. All your wicked people. Anything that these people tell all you, don't believe them. They're very liars. Look at that. The cult leader. He bring up.
And check out Solito. I must come Valencia. I must go Carenage.
When it is called for election day, you will respond appropriately. Have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless.
I'm not crossing the Grand Bocas to eat pastel in Caracas. To me that I'm making no sense. We have the best right in Maracas. I really can't speak Spanish. I might be young and foolish. Girl, I appreciate your offer, but you might see me there next year. I must go Lopino to check my boys inside.
Them want me to stay in this cold place with snow? They matter what? Oh no, I have to be home for Christmas. Oh no, I have to be home for Christmas. Oh no, I have to be home for Christmas. Oh no, I have to be home for Christmas. Hey, you know I spend a lot of my time in England. So my friends ask me to spend Christmas in London. But I tell them as soon as I see November coming, I pack in the bag, say goodbye, cause it's home I'm going. Oh no, I have to be home for Christmas. Oh no, I have to be home for Christmas. Oh no, I have to be home for Christmas. Oh no, I have to be home for Christmas. While me roasting on a beach with fire, sunburn on my nose, and I don't have to wear no winter clothes, cause there is nothing like a Trini Christmas. Hey! Some let's talk about a white Christmas, but they dashing through the snow. But a blazing hot sunshine is the kind of Christmas that bring me know. Put Santa Claus and his sleigh on a pause, we going home.
I woke up 5 o'clock this morning, as I accustomed doing each morn. As usual, I head straight for the kitchen. Right away, I knew something was wrong. Cake batter in a bowl, but the oven was cold. Looking wrong, I couldn't find a spoon. Not a protein was hanging. The ham still wanted boiling. I can't find my wife even. Seems like she gone. Even, why is Christmas Day you choose? Even, girl, you have me so confused. It's Christmas morning, look, neighbors coming, and parents playing. Girl, you don't know how I'm feeling. My heart is burning, my belly griping. Look, people laughing. Even, why you leave me so I'm gone?
Darling, look, it's Christmas, a special time of year. Twinkle and your loving is all I want to share. I don't want no diamond ring, I don't need a fancy thing. The only thing I'm missing is my husband's true loving. Cause the days are getting shorter, but the nights are feeling cold. All the gifts, the drinks, the trees, they don't mean nothing to me. Give me love, give me love, give me love. La 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 la, yo 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 yo, la 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 la, yo yo yo. La 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 la, yo 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 yo. Give me love, give me love, give me love. Now I like the way you paint up and vanish all my flaws. Now I don't mean to hurt you, but I'm thinking to raise my paws. Punch a cream and gingerbread, carol singers everywhere. But for the Christmas morning, man, you always disappear. And the days are getting shorter, but the nights are feeling colder. All the gifts, the drinks, the tree, they can't do a thing for me. Give me love, give me love, give me love. La 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 la, yo 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 yo, la 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 la, yo yo yo. La 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 la, yo 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 yo. Give me love, give me love, give me love. Yes, the days are getting shorter, but at night are feeling colder. All the gifts, the drinks, the tree, they can't do a thing for me. Give me love, give